New challenger. Get ready for the next battle.
Bądźmy dumni z tej walki.
Round one. Fight. Fight.
Yeah, now this song is a warning. Yes, folks, a warning against the danger, the perils, our very economy, a social fiber, moral turpitude.
New challenger.
National security. And friends, the danger
Get
is
ready
not,
for the
it is
next
not
battle.
The hairs, and it is not the warmongers, the squares, and the drug users. Friends, the danger, the real danger is from suckers. Yes, you heard me. I say thumb suckers. And every time
Round one.
you sign with your finger.
Fight.
And every time you put the door there. And every time you stick out your thumb, there is always lurking in the shadows. Sneaky thumb sucker will leap out upon you, grab your wrist, and start to suck your thumb, draining all your natural thumb juices, and leaving you hopeless, shaking, quivering, drawing, slobbering, thumb sucking addict for the rest of your life. That's why I ain't the no thumb sucker. You crazy? climb the wall and down no run and all that. Ain't gonna let no motherfucker survive.
special, you're the only.
Well, it's a headband. You don't want to
I love you, I love me too. Come on everybody, let's get up and move. Jump up to the ceiling, show me what you're feeling with your moves. So I can dance with you. Wherever you are, however you can. No matter how you're feeling, everybody can dance. I love you, I love me too. We have so many things we can do, like laughing and playing, learning something new. I love being friends with you. I love you, I love me too. Come on everybody, let's get up and move. Jump up to the ceiling, show me what you're feeling with your moves. So I can dance with you. Let's dance! Shake your dino tail. Terrific moves. I love a dino dance party.
Yeah!
Dancing is so much fun. Wherever you are, however you can. No matter how you feel, everybody can dance. I love you, I love me too. We have so many things we can do, like laughing and playing, learning something new. I love being friends with you. I love you, I love you too. Today can be anything we choose, because I love you. I love you. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share.
Sabrina pants. Actually,
Look at all this silly, colorful mess. Oh, did you call me because you're ready for cleanup time?
Oh, yeah, great idea!
Yes, I've been waiting all day for this. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share. I love to clean up, do it with some flair, 'cause when we clean up, we show we really care. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share. I love to clean up, do it with some flair, 'cause when we clean up, we show we really care. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share. Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share. Clean up, everybody everywhere. You are special, you're the only one. You're the only one like you. There isn't another in the whole wide world who can do things you do. Oh, you are special. Everyone is special. Everyone in their own way. You're important, oh you really are. You're the only one of you. The world is better 'cause you are here. You should know that we love you. Oh, you are special. Everyone is special. Everyone in their own way. I love the things that make you you. I love the things that you can do.
Special, everyone is special. Everyone is special.
Keep being your own special you. You are special, you're the only one. You're the only one like you. There isn't
Spanish speaking,
another in the whole
but at the same
wide
time, a
world who
growing,
can do things
prideful Latino population that all
that's some Christian.
Or tonight, civilians in both Gaza and Lebanon are once again caught in the crossfire, while the U.S. promises to send an air defense system to Israel.
Vice President Kamala Harris works to shore up support from black voters, while former President Donald Trump ramps up his dangerous political rhetoric.
And how some prominent colleges are reaching out to students from rural areas that are often overlooked.
These students are also not getting the same information that a lot of their peers are getting in more urban and suburban areas because colleges don't come visit them.
Major funding for the PBS NewsHour has been provided by
She's sad because she has to.
the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions,
Ice cream cone.
and friends of the NewsHour, including Leonard and Norma Chlorfine, and the Judy and Peter Bloom Kovler Foundation.
Two retiring executives turn their focus to greyhounds, giving these former race dogs a real chance to win. A Raymond James financial advisor gets to know you, your purpose, and the way you give back. Life well planned.
The William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. For more than 50 years, advancing ideas and supporting institutions to promote a better world. At hewlett.org. And with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the News Hour. A weekend of death and destruction gave way to another day of carnage in Gaza and Lebanon as Israeli forces struck multiple sites in both places, killing dozens. Israel suffered its own losses as its troops in the north came under fire from Hezbollah.
That drone attack killed 4 Israeli soldiers. But much focus fell again on Gaza and an Israeli attack outside a major hospital in Gaza's north. That is where Layla Milana Allen begins our coverage tonight. And a warning, images and accounts in this story are disturbing.
Burned alive in a hospital bed, an IV that was supposed to heal became shackles. Last night in central Gaza's Deir al-Balah, screams echoed through the night as an Israeli airstrike hit a makeshift tent village outside Al-Aqsa Hospital, setting the tents and part of the building ablaze.
There were people trapped inside the fire, and we were unable to pull them out. A human being being burned alive in front of your eyes, and you can't rescue him. He turned to ashes.
At least 4 people were killed and dozens injured. Today, as the smoke cleared, doctors attempted to tend their burns without painkillers or ointments. Survivors sifted through the rubble of their temporary homes.
Everything has burned, everything. As you see, I'm a mother of 7 daughters. Where shall I go? My tent has collapsed, destroyed. All our clothes and belongings are gone. Who should we speak to? Where is the safety? We are calling on all countries, the whole world, to stand by our side and stop the war on us. We are exhausted. We've had enough.
Nearby in Nusayrat, a night of horror for displaced families as the IDF struck an UNRWA school where families were seeking shelter. The attack killed at least 22 people, including 15 children.
They were sleeping unarmed. They're innocent. This is little Rahad's blanket here. She was only 2 years old. This morning, they removed their bodies, but the fire was still everywhere. Then there was another wave of airstrikes. The injured and dead were everywhere. We've had enough of this. Have mercy on us. They took their childhoods away. They took our smiles away. They've taken away every beautiful detail in our lives.
Fatima's son says all he wants is freedom from this war. He doesn't fear death anymore. He's seen too much.
The fire was burning for 3 hours while we were carrying the dead and collecting their cut-off fingers, which we put in a box and took them to the hospital. The children here are dying. Everyone is going to die. We're not going to keep going from place to place. At least we'll die in our country.
In Israel last night, an IDF base south of Haifa was hit by a Hezbollah drone. The strike killed 4 soldiers and wounded dozens of others, even as the United States sends a new missile defense system to Israel. Israelis worry their air defense can't handle the increasing threat from drones.
We are required to provide better protection. We will investigate this incident, learn and improve. Our mission is to better protect our soldiers and citizens of Israel.
As IDF troops push further across the border into South Lebanon, Israeli soldiers posted videos of themselves inside Lebanese homes after multiple attacks on
Sharing can be fun. When snack time comes around, you know I'd be so glad to share. 1/2 for you, 1/2 for me.
UNIFIL bases by Israeli troops.
Sharing, oh sharing, sharing can be fun.
left several UN peacekeepers wounded. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated his demand that peacekeepers withdraw.
It is time for you to remove UNIFIL from Hezbollah's strongholds and from the fighting areas. The IDF has repeatedly asked for this and has been met with repeated refusals, all aimed at providing a human shield to
When things go wrong and you don't know where to start, try your best to make it better.
Hezbollah terrorists. The refusal to evacuate the UNIFIL soldiers makes them hostages of Hezbollah.
The UN maintains they must
for yourself and others too. Although it isn't easy, you can be brave and tell
stay under international law.
It can make you feel much.
That it's incumbent on Israel.
I know that I feel braver.
The truth can make you proud. It isn't always simple. It's sometimes hard to do. Yet the truth can be the kindest thing for yourself and others too. Although it isn't easy, you can be brave and tell the truth. When things go wrong and you don't know.
Israeli and Lebanese forces to ensure their safety. The IDF demanded the evacuation of a further 20 towns and villages. Fully a third of the country is now under fire. Yesterday, a century-old souk and mosque in Nabatea were razed to the ground. 2,300 people in Lebanon are now dead, nearly 11,000 injured.
The IDF says it will tell Lebanese when they can return, but many of their homes and entire villages have been flattened, and the bombing campaign is escalating across the country. In the past few days, Christian towns in the north have been targeted for the first time, while in the capital, the strike zone continues to expand, often without warning.
Muhammad was left reeling after the streets housing his family home and his gym business in a calm central Beirut neighborhood were hit within 5 minutes of each other. The area had become home to dozens of displaced families who fled from the south. His family survived, but many in their building didn't.
We're all families here. No weapons or Hezbollah leaders or anything. I don't know what they're thinking that they could kill us like this. When you see people dead and body parts all over the place, you don't know how to feel, especially after the terror we experienced after the strike.
Some have decided they can't take it anymore. Nearly 100,000 Lebanese have fled to Syria, taking their chances with a stagnant civil war there over an escalating one here. After one airstrike too many, Widad and her teenage daughter left home with what they could carry.
My heart is in Lebanon. We will definitely return to Lebanon. I consider my country to be Lebanon, frankly. But fear. One can't trust Israel. It targets all the places.
As the conflict spreads, this region is no longer boiling. It is burning. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Layla Milana Allen in Beirut.
Watching the latest developments for us, here is our foreign affairs and defense correspondent, Nick Schifrin. So, Nick, let's begin with what Layla mentioned there about the U.S. deployment of an air defense system to Israel. Tell us about that and how significant that is.
This is the first time, Namna, that U.S. forces will deploy into Israel since the October 7th attack, and about 100 service members will arrive with a THAAD battery. That is the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense against ballistic missiles, so it would be used alongside Israeli missile defense against Iranian attacks. That's 2 weeks after 180 Iranian ballistic missiles really caused no damage, but as you can see there, got through U.S. and Israeli air defense. So THAAD would help defend Israel should Iran launch another attack to a response, what we could expect any moment, which is an Israeli strike on Iran. U.S. officials tell me that they continue to urge Israel not to attack nuclear energy sites, but instead to target military intelligence sites. U.S. officials tell me they believe Israel's leadership is listening, but there's no guarantee about their final decision. As for that THAAD battery, President Biden said it would be to, quote, protect Israel, but there are downsides. The U.S. Army only has 7 of them all over the world. It's very expensive, and there's no quick way to replenish missiles if U.S. troops do use them to help protect Israel.
Let me ask you, too, about Gaza and Layla's reporting there. We saw those horrific images from Deir al-Balah. We have seen now Israel intensify its assault in northern Gaza. The UN has condemned the large number of civilian casualties in recent days. What's behind that Israeli intensification?
So as for the strike itself, a National Security Council spokesperson released a statement this afternoon saying, quote, what happened there is, quote, horrifying. An Israeli Defense Forces statement says that they targeted, quote, terrorists operating inside a command and control center in a parking lot full of displaced persons next to the Al-Aqsa hospital, and the fire was most likely caused by secondary explosions, and that they are reviewing the incident. Amna, you and I have talked about for the last year, the Israeli rules of engagement allow Israel to target what it calls senior Hamas leaders or Hamas fighters, even if surrounded by civilians, even if surrounded by women and children, and Israel calls that Hamas using civilians as human shields. But the UN report, as you were just suggesting, calls out Israel for, quote, its concerted policy to destroy Gaza's healthcare system, and that airstrike is part of a larger Israeli effort in northern Gaza. Israeli military has re-entered northern Gaza with tanks, issued evacuation orders for some 400,000 people as Hamas fighters have regrouped. U.S. officials say that Hamas fighters have only regrouped because Israel has no strategy for the day after. The UN also says that Israel's new campaign has blocked all aid into northern Gaza since October the 1st, leading Israel's military to deny a plan that's now been made public, that's been known as the retired general's plan to starve out northern Gaza to create a permanent military zone. Today, Israel published these images. Some 40 trucks arriving into northern Gaza. U.S. officials have been pushing Israel to allow more aid to go in and warning that if more aid didn't go in, the U.S. could declare Israel was blocking aid officially, and that could require U.S. law suspending some arms sales to Israel. The bottom line is that remains a threat, and Gazans say no winners.
And quickly, before you go on Lebanon, what is the Israeli goal there?
Israeli officials continue to say that they are trying to get some 60,000 people displaced from northern Israel back into their homes, and to do so, they have to go into southern Lebanon to get rid of Hezbollah fighters and tunnels. We saw this video released today, Israeli forces releasing what it said was a Hezbollah command and control bunker of weapons, food, motorcycles for an October 7th style attack. But the bottom line is the routes that Israel would need to go in with armored vehicles run right through those UN bases. Today, the U.S. says UNIFIL must not be harmed, that Israel's invasion needs to be, quote, limited. But the last time Israel promised a limited invasion of Lebanon, 1982, they stayed for 18 years.
Nick Schifrin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Turning our focus now to the 2024 presidential race. Over the weekend, Vice President Kamala Harris made stops in North Carolina, while out west, former President Donald Trump ratcheted up his political rhetoric. But tonight, both candidates are in opposite corners of one of the most important states in this election. That's Pennsylvania. Laura Barone-Lopez has our report.
This afternoon, Kamala Harris jetted off to the country's largest battleground state. The vice president is doing in Pennsylvania as she did in North Carolina over the weekend, energizing black voters. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump increased his extreme rhetoric, describing some American American citizens as enemies.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within.
In a Fox News interview yesterday, Maria Bartiromo asked Trump whether or not Election Day would be peaceful.
We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
This kind of terminology
from your
is the terminology of dictator.
Ruth Ben-Ghiat is an American historian and scholar.
Battle suits piloted by the elite and just
doing anti-immigrant rhetoric since 2015.
Your people and strike fear in the minds of those that would threaten your kin. As oathbound, you have enjoyed a perfect society in isolation. But now, it is time to enlighten those who have fallen from grace in these savage times.
These little children are asking you, please come out so we can play with you.
Oh, Mr. Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. Oh, Mr. Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. Oh, Mr. Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, hiding behind a tree.
These little children are asking you, please come out so we can play with you.
Oh, Mr. Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on, please shine down on, please shine down on me. Clean up, everybody, everywhere. Clean up, everybody, do your share. Clean up, everybody, everywhere. Clean up, everybody, do your share. Clean up, everybody, everywhere. Clean up, everybody, do your share.
Keeping people out so that you should militarize the border, but now it's the enemy within. And that enemy can be anywhere, even in the heartland, such as Aurora or Springfield. And thus, he's talking about using various types of armed forces, National Guard, and he says even the military, to go and liberate these territories. So this is very dangerous rhetoric. It's turning armed force against a domestic population, and that's what dictators have done in the past.
Trump's choice language didn't stop at Fox News. On Saturday, he described American towns as being invaded at a rally in Coachella, California.
We're like an occupied country. We got people taking over parts of Colorado. We have people taking over other states. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. Liberation Day.
This is a strategy. The ultimate goal is to convince Americans that democracy is failing and that strongman leadership to fix everything, Donald Trump will say, I alone can fix it, is supposed to be the answer. And so as soon as he would take over and go back to the White House, all of our problems would be solved. But this is based on a fictional reality that's been created by disinformation.
In Prescott Valley, Arizona this weekend, Trump made a new immigration pledge to add 10,000 agents to Border Patrol ranks and bump up their salaries.
I will be asking Congress immediately to approve a 10% raise. I haven't had one in a long time for all agents. And a $10,000 each retention and signing bonus. So we're going to retain them. We're going to retain them.
Across the country, at her own rally in Greenville, North Carolina, Harris, who released her own medical records on Saturday, took a swing at the former president's lack of transparency.
He refuses to release his medical records. I've done it. Every other presidential every other presidential candidate in modern era has done it. He is unwilling to do a 60 Minutes interview. Like every other major party candidate has done for more than half a century. He
10-year-old waiting for Santa Claus to come. The days just can't get here fast enough.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Laura Barone Lopez.
And we start the day's other news with the aftermath of the recent hurricanes. FEMA has had to make what it calls operational adjustments to its work in North Carolina following threats to its personnel. It follows reports over the weekend about a militia possibly targeting government employees. A 44-year-old man was arrested and charged with a single misdemeanor offense. He was later released on bond, and local authorities tell the NewsHour he was acting alone. That's as FEMA is trying to stamp out disinformation about the federal government's response to Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Officials in Taiwan say that China launched large-scale military exercises today to warn against Taiwanese independence. Taiwan's defense ministry says Beijing used several warships and 125 military aircraft. That's a record for a single day to surround the island. Officials in Taipei say they believe Beijing was simulating a blockade of Taiwanese ports and international shipping lanes.
This irrational and provocative military exercise threatens security in the Taiwan Strait. It undermines the security of the Indo-Pacific region and threatens the rules-based international order.
China says the drills were intended to punish Taiwan's president for saying in a speech last week that China has no right to represent Taiwan. Authorities in Sri Lanka say that nearly 7,000 people have been evacuated and 3 people died in severe flooding. Heavy downpours over the last several days have inundated streets, fields, and homes in many parts of that island nation. That includes areas in and around the capital of Colombo, where schools were closed today. Sri Lanka has been dealing with severe weather conditions since May, mostly caused by monsoon rains. A NASA spacecraft lifted off today on a mission to explore Jupiter's moon Europa for signs of the building blocks of life.
3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff.
The unmanned Europa Clipper launched from Florida's Kennedy Space Center aboard a SpaceX rocket to begin its 5.5-year journey. It'll cover 1.8 million miles before entering orbit around Jupiter. Europa Clipper will then do dozens of flybys of the moon, looking at what's believed to be a vast ocean beneath its icy surface. Scientists say that if conditions are found to be favorable, then it's possible life could exist on other ocean worlds, much like Earth. On Wall Street today, stocks rose to new all-time highs to start the week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained about 200 points to close above 43,000 for the first time ever. The Nasdaq added more than 150 points on the day. The S&P 500 tacked on 44 points for a new record close of its own. And we have a passing of note. Equal pay icon Lilly Ledbetter has died. Her decision to speak up about not being paid the same as her male colleagues eventually paved the way for the Fair Pay Act in her name. When she sued her old employer, Goodyear Tires, back in 1999 for gender discrimination, the Supreme Court ultimately told her in a 2007 ruling that she'd fallen outside of the statute of limitations. The Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act changed that, making it easier for workers to sue for pay discrimination. In 2009, it was the very first bill that then-President Barack Obama signed into law. And at the 2012 Democratic National Convention, Ledbetter made clear the fight for equal pay was far from over.
Women who faced pay discrimination like I did now can get their day in court. That was the first step, but it can't be the last because women still earn just 77 cents for every dollar men make. Those pennies add up to real money.
More than a decade later, the U.S. Census Bureau says that women still only make about 83 cents on the dollar compared to men. Mr. Obama posted on social media today that Lilly Ledbetter never set out to be a trailblazer or a household name. She just wanted to be paid the same as a man for her hard work. Lilly Ledbetter was 86 years old. Still to come on the NewsHour, we speak with the winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics about his work on global inequality. A new initiative aims to connect more rural students to colleges, and how a growing number of Latinos who don't speak Spanish are reclaiming their identities.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.
With just 3 weeks to go until Election Day, the presidential race is still in a dead heat, with both campaigns looking to cut into their opponents' margins. For more on their strategies and policies, I'm joined now by our Politics Monday duo. That is Amy Walter of the Cook Political Report with Amy Walter and Tamara Keith of NPR. Thank you for you both. All right, let's take a quick look now, set the stage. 2 new national polls to kind of tell us about the race. The first is from NBC News right now. You see Harris with 48 and Trump with 48% there. The second is from ABC News, and you've got Harris with 49% there, Trump with 47%. That is within the margin of error. So, Amy, it's a close race, getting closer, it seems.
Yeah, it does feel that way. You know, if you think about where we were, say, in September, maybe at the end of September, it had been a pretty momentous few weeks for Kamala Harris. She gets the nomination. The base rallies around her pretty quickly. We go right to the DNC. Then she has a successful debate. But that momentum has since, I don't know whether the word is plateaued or hit a wall. And there is some signs in those national polls that there's been a little backsliding as well, that Trump is doing much better with independent voters. He's basically halved in that poll, as well as CBS. All 3 networks came out with their national surveys. So there's that sense that, you know, on the issues that vote, there's also the fact that on the issues that voters are the most concerned about, like the economy, Trump still has the lead. To me, the most important thing I found in that NBC poll is that voters look at Trump's presidency retroactively a lot rosier than they did a year ago, and probably a lot rosier than they did when he was sitting as president. Harris's entire focus is on trying to make the case that he shouldn't be brought back into the White House. But right now, you saw most voters, or a plurality of voters in that NBC poll saying they thought Trump's policies helped them. They did not think that Biden's policies had helped them.
And Tam, we've been seeing the Harris campaign rolling out some major surrogates, right? President Obama last week, President Clinton this week, specifically trying to reach male voters, specifically black men. We saw some new economic proposals from the Harris campaign today. Crucial is that demo for Harris to win.
That demographic is very important. In a race that is going to be decided on the margins, we always say this, but in a race that's going to be decided on the margins, she can't afford to lose these voters. And I was in North Carolina last week reporting in a part of the state where black voter turnout really was down in 2022 and has been falling in recent years. Talking to voters, I went to barbershops, I talked to some voters who I had talked to when Joe Biden was on the ballot, went back and talked to them again now that Kamala Harris is there. You know, the euphoria that you're seeing at her rallies was not present in those barbershops. And a couple of people I talked to said specifically that, you know, while they were supporting Harris, they weren't sure that all of their male friends and family would, simply because they don't believe that their friends and family are ready for a woman leader, for a female president. And, you know, they're talking to their friends about it and going back and forth about it. But this is actually a real concern that was voiced by former President Obama at a campaign event in Pittsburgh, where he said, you know, the enthusiasm, particularly among black men, isn't what it was for him. And he called it out and said that maybe there just are some people who aren't feeling it. Now, does that persuade? Does that move people to the polls? Yeah. I don't know. But they are certainly being quite open about their challenges. And she'll be appearing with Charlemagne the God, doing a town hall style event, again, trying to reach that key demographic.
So much more to unpack in that we won't have time to in this one conversation. But Amy, the Harris campaign also announced she's going to do an interview on Fox. Yep. Sit down with Bret Baier in Pennsylvania on Wednesday. Is it risky for the Democratic nominee to go on the pro-Trump network with 3 weeks left in the election?
Right. So when we talk about fighting on the margins, the other margin is where she does with white voters, especially white voters with a college degree. So for as much as her coalition is not looking like the Biden coalition with voters of color, where she is doing better is than Biden did, and probably, if this holds, than any other Democrat has ever done, is with white college-educated voters. Now, that, you know, again, you're not going to win over a lot of Fox voters, but pulling in at some of the margins. I think what she's also trying to do is to get and sort of goad at Donald Trump, to go out in the public a lot more. She needs Donald Trump to be in the spotlight. More specifically, some of the things that he says and does that what Laura Lopez's piece just was about, you have to be careful because of the enemy within. Making that a centerpiece of her campaign, and one way to do that is to go on to sources of news that aren't necessarily friendly to her side.
Well, Tam, to that point, in terms of what we heard from former President Trump, there has been a ramping up, an escalation of some of the more dangerous kind of rhetoric, now saying if he was reelected, he would go after the enemy within with the U.S. military. That was yesterday. He said that the same day that his running mate, J.D. Vance, once again refused to say in an interview that Trump lost the 2020 election. I mean, these are anti-democratic messages, but not disqualifying.
J. Lupe. Yeah. And so it seems that I'm sewing jeans at first at 15 is just a sewing machine. So I cut the pattern and I sew it seams and buttoning is hustling and publicly I'm Buddy Lee. There's no busting them and cuffing them. It's like ushering in a regime. They want me to make Prince pants, but I withstand. I ain't gotten into that. A little big in the waist, two pocket on the back. Call them new vibes, OGs covered in blue dye. Give them the game, that's like giving chocolate to the fat. Look, how you think I got here? That's the same game that came through where I live as a kid in the bad luck truck and threw boxes off the back. Made me a ripper, deliver like river. Content a little more thicker, slicker, yeah. And they said oil and water don't mix. Now they all down at the beach washing off the fish. Was Blackbeards till I brought the rock into your ships, yeah. It's my life.